journey. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry. Consulting, so inspiring. Wishing you to.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. I'm your host, Crystal Petry. Wherever you are, make sure you subscribe to my podcast right now. On this week's episode, we are talking about running. We've all seen it, we've all heard about it, but do you actually know how to run? Do you know how to stretch? Do you know how to hydrate before and after you run? If you don't know, if you do know, if you're on the fence about whether you know or not, this is the podcast for you. And here to educate us about running, Crystal Moore.
Hey.
So welcome to the podcast, Crystal.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing. Now, before we get into the podcast, I just want to say that I love your name.
Oh, yeah, it's a great name. Spelled the right way.
Exactly. Spelled the right way. It's spelled exactly the same as mine. So I appreciate it. And you are the first Crystal that I've had on here, besides myself.
Nice.
So, yes. Now, my first question is, explain your education and experience as it pertains to running.
So I have a background in exercise science. I was an athletic trainer for a long time, about 10 years. So, but while I was doing that, I saw a need for coaching in the running space. So I went ahead and I actually got into triathlon myself. So I went and got my triathlon certification, USA Triathlon. I'm a level 1 coach, and I'm currently working on my my endurance certification. So there's a certification called 80-20 endurance, and that's the one that I'm currently working on, and it deals with running, cycling, swimming, anything you could consider an endurance sport. So the running is in there, but I also do running with triathlon. So
What is a triathlon?
triathlon is a swim, bike, run event. So there are other ones that they've included, like canoeing and kayaking and stuff, in case you're not really wanting to swim. But it starts with a swim, and it can be any distance from like 500 meters up to a couple miles, and then a bike anywhere from 12 miles to 100 miles, and then a run anywhere from like a 2 or 5K to up to a marathon. So yeah.
And people actually do that?
Yeah, they loop them all together.
What? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a lot.
So I got into that, and then started actually wanting to coach runners as well. So
Have you ever done a triathlon?
Yeah, I've done a few of them.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Do you love them?
I do.
Which is a loaded question, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I love it, and that's what got me into the sport and into coaching. Is just that I was in it, and I needed the education, so I educated myself because I just felt like that was something that was missing in this this area.
Okay. Is running actually good for you?
It can be.
Okay. How?
Well, running is more activity, so there's a balance, I think. So we all want to be active. You see people go all day and they go to work and they sit in a desk, and they go home and they sit on the couch and watch a show because they're just so tired from whatever they've been doing all day on a computer, or dealing with all that stress of life. But running can be helpful and healthy in ways as far as stress management. It can also be healthy for cardiovascular. So just getting out and being active is the healthy part of it. Now, you can overdo that and do too much too soon, or stress your body way too much, and there's people that jump into it and go overboard, and it creates injury and stuff like that. So that's where you want to be cautious as you're ramping up into it.
And that's probably where you need a coach too.
Yes, I think that is beneficial to programming your training and stuff, is having a coach that's knowledgeable about, hey, let's put this harder workout here, let's give you a rest day when you need it, and then just communicating back and forth to know how you're feeling.
If someone has never ran before, they're watching this podcast, they're listening to this podcast, but they want to start running, what is the first thing that they need to do? Is it just running?
The first thing I would do is get you a good pair of running shoes.
Okay.
And then find a group that runs, and that's the biggest thing, is that finding that community. So once you get you a pair of running shoes, because some of those shoes that you have in your closet that are 20 years old are the foam's worn down, there's no more support in them, and they're just going to lead to injury. And hey, I really don't like running because it hurts, but maybe it's just the fact that your shoes are worn down. So, get you a nice pair of shoes. On the Run is a local store here that will fit you for the perfect pair of shoes for you, and they'll find one, like if you need support or if you need like motion control or something like that, they can fit you to the right stability and plushness that you need, as far as like how firm the sole is, and get you in the right shoe that will set you up for success.
And On the Run is a local store here in Beaumont, Texas. But if someone isn't here in Beaumont, what are one or two things that they need to look for when they go to the store? Because I know sometimes that could be like overwhelming, trying to figure out, you walk into a store, Nike or Foot Locker or wherever, and they have all of these shoes, or you're online, they have all of these shoes, and you have no idea what to pick. I know for me, I normally just pick the ones that are cute.
Yeah. That's
which is not, I know, correct.
Right. Yeah.
So what tips would you give someone as far as looking for and selecting the right pair of shoes?
Okay, so one I heard recently was size. Like,
Okay.
a lot of people are, for some reason, stuck on, I'm an 8.5, and really they might be a 9. And even just adjusting that much gives your toes some space that they can splay and not be crunched in their toe box, and that way it gives them their natural foot position. Width is also a good thing, so you want to have someone measure your width, or you can actually do it. I think there's some online tools that tell you, hey, this for a wide foot, this is how far, like how wide your toes are or something, and so you'd know if you need a wide shoe. But there's some online resources that you could just Google and say, do I have a wide foot, and it would kind of lead you down the right path for that. After that, you want to check for, do you need arch support? Do you have flat feet? Sometimes if you have flat feet, you're not getting the basically the shock absorption that you need when you're running, and it can cause shin splints or knee pain later on during, if you start ramping up your running and it's like, hey, these things are starting to hurt me. That may be something you look for, is arch support. You can also buy insoles that have arch support. So that, and then also cushion. I've gone to a more plush cushion shoe just because I've got putting a lot of miles on. Now if I'm trying to do like speed work or something like that, I may go to a more responsive shoe that doesn't have as much cushion. But I would recommend for people starting out running that they get something that it's nice and plush and gonna make you feel good when you go out there.
Okay. What is the best time of day to run? Is it in the morning when it's cooler? I mean, in Southeast Texas, once it gets hot out here, we don't have a cool anything, but is it nighttime, lunchtime?
I would say the best time of day to run is when it's the best time of day to run for you.
Okay.
So I like to run mid-morning. I like to wake up slow. I like to drink my coffee and have my breakfast and then go, and 10 o'clock's about my time that I'd like to go for my run.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to get theirs done before sunup because, like you said, it's getting hot. But with that, you also need to think about lights and being visible. So when I go at 10 a.m., hey, everybody can see me. They can see I'm sweating. But so if you're going earlier, just be aware of if you're visible. So so you may want to go before work. That's going to be before the sun comes up most days. If you go after work, you also want to just make sure that you're watching out for traffic. And around here we have nice run trails in Beaumont that you can just go out and not have to worry about that. But I know that 5 o'clock time, if you're trying to run around the neighborhood, people are trying to get home. So just being visible and aware of that is super important. But I think the best time of day is just when it works best for your schedule, so when you can fit it in.
So we talked a little bit about the proper kind of shoes to run in. What about as far as for women, sports bras? What should they look for if they're wanting, I guess you need a sports bra really to run,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I think any size person needs that support there. So I don't, for me specifically, I don't have a brand that I'm like, oh, I gotta go with this. But people that I know have recommended a brand called SheFit, and it has some straps that you're able to adjust for more support and less support. And it has their proper sizes, cup size, and everything. So it's not just a lot of times the sports bras are like small, medium, large. This one has cup size and then also around your chest as well. So it's going to fit you properly and give you that support that you need.
How often should someone run? Now, I've heard like 3 to 4 times a week, but I feel like they say everything is 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, lift 3 to 4 times
Yes.
a week. Yeah. So I think starting out 3 times a week is probably a good place to start. I know people that have been running for a long time, they run every day. So the main thing is just balance and easing into it. So if you are going to run, if you're starting out running, I would say alternate, just say we start Monday. We won't run again till Wednesday or Thursday, and then maybe a longer run on the weekend. So that gives your body time to recover, and you're not overdoing it. When you start to run 4 times a week, you're putting 2 days back to back mostly. So because you can't skip every other day, there's always going to be 2 days that you're running back to back. So on those days, I would say alternate. Maybe if you're not just easy running, if you're incorporating harder workouts, put that harder one in first and sandwich it between 2 easier days. So if you run easy Monday, maybe Wednesday's a harder run, and then Thursday's another easy run. And then the weekend is, it can be a hard or easy.
Explain to me what you mean by easy run and hard run.
So I would go off of paces or effort. As you're a beginner runner, just looking at, hey, what is an easy run to me would be something that's conversational. So what I mean by conversational is, and I'm running along with you, and we're going to go for a little 2-mile run or something like that we can talk just like this the whole time and not be out of breath or need to stop to catch our breath or anything like that. If you're not with somebody, another thing is to, you can just nose breathe. So you're just sitting there and you're...
So in and out of your nose.
Yeah, and
Okay.
as you're running, you shouldn't have to breathe through your mouth, and that would be an easy effort. You can also try singing a song or something, and as long as you're not like having to stop to take a breath between verses, then is what I would call easy. And then you kind of look at your pace with that and know, hey, that's my easy run. And so when you start to ramp it up, like for different workouts, that you would, if you're trying to target a different zone, so an easy run would be zone 1 or zone 2 effort. And then if you're trying to target a different effort zone or heart rate zone or pace zone, you ramp up, and it's based off of that easy, well, it's actually based off of a higher threshold zone. So you're like, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time explaining this. But as you get into higher threshold workouts, that's like zone 3 and stuff like that. And then those would be different paces, but they're all based off of different, you would want to start and do a run test to start with that.
So with a hard run, and as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking like I'm running faster and longer.
Yes, faster or longer. So some of your long runs can be easy runs.
Okay.
So I could go and do maybe a 6-mile run for some people, or even a 3-mile run. It's all relative to where you are in your fitness journey, but it could be still at zone 2. But it is going to be a little harder on my body because it's a longer time frame, so the volume's higher. So you want to take that into consideration when you're planning like your next week or something like that, or your next workout.
In your professional opinion, in your experienced opinion, Is running a hard exercise?
I think that's also relative. It depends. It can be hard. And I think that it shouldn't be extremely hard. And a lot of times we make it too hard, and that's where a lot of our compliance kind of falls off. So a lot of people are like, I'm going to start running, and they do it too hard. And then they're like, well, I'm sore. I can't do this anymore. And they fall off. And it's like, okay, but you need to just start slower. So it should be easy. And then you can ramp up into it, and certain workouts should be harder.
Do people need to warm up before they start running? And this is for the novice and the experienced person. Do you always need to warm up before you start running?
You should, yes. So a lot of workouts, you have a 10-minute warm-up period where you maybe do some easy jogging at a super easy pace, and then you would start doing some exercises after that to kind of warm the muscles up and get the body ready for the bigger effort. So a lot of people do static stretching before they work out. I would recommend against that. It actually has been shown in research to take away power. So a lot of people now are doing more of a dynamic warm-up where they do, let's say, like skipping, jumps. Sometimes they may do some squats or lunges, leg swings. I don't know if you've ever seen like a track workout. They do some A skips or B skips, high knees, butt kicks, and these are all, easy Google, YouTube on, proper dynamic warm-up. So
By static warm-up, what does that mean?
static stretching is where you would like sit in a circle and do a hurdle stretch, like put your leg out in front and reach,
Okay.
Or pull your leg to your butt, and that's like a quad stretch. So those are all when you see like a soccer team warm up before a game, they sit in their circle and count, 1, 2 to 10, and that's all static stretching.
So that's not recommended for running.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for any sport.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what about once you complete your run? What should be done now? Because normally I just walk in my house.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. So I think the main thing is just making sure you recover properly, and that can include a proper cool down. So maybe a little bit easier jogging, and then maybe even a 5-minute walk after you're done running. And if that's something that, hey, I've only got time for this 30-minute run, well then incorporate that into, you want to take that first 25 minutes, and then, hey, I've got 5 minutes of a cool down at the end. And then you may want to do some rolling of your muscles with a foam roller or a massage stick. They make all kinds of recovery tools now. You can really go off the deep end here. And then just also proper nutrition. So these are the foam roller. So
Okay.
I would use, I like them for warming up. And so if you're really sore, that warming up, this could really help get the muscles just more pliable.
Okay.
And then after also just is a good thing to just kind of roll them out, especially if you're new. And this is something that you can purchase at Academy or even get online, and it may be like $20. And I find it really useful. It's one of my most used recovery tools is the foam roller.
And it's a red foam roller. About how long is this?
I would say this is about 18 inches.
Okay.
And then maybe like, I don't know, six in diameter.
Okay.
And so it's real easy to pack away in a bag and stuff like that too if you're traveling. Easy to just throw in a car, super light. I love them.
Okay.
So, and they make different densities too. This is probably a lower end density
Okay.
foam, and it's a nice place to start out. They make some that are really hard and can really dig deep into those muscles if you have like trigger points or something that can really get into there.
And that's like a cylinder shape, we would say?
Yes.
Okay. And what are some other things that you have?
So this is just the massage. This is called the stick, and it's used for massaging, and you just like roll it on your muscles. So I like it for big muscle groups like quads or hamstrings. They make a longer one that I like to roll on my back too, but this one's really good, and it's about, I would say about the same length
About
as a foam
okay.
roller, 18 inches, yeah.
And this one it has black handles with the white, what would we call the white kind of rolls, I guess?
Yeah, they're just like little plastic rolls, I get, yeah, that's
Okay.
what I call them.
And the black part is where you hold your hand, so those are the handles.
Yep, just a handle.
Okay.
So. But I really find those super useful for recovery, and they're relatively inexpensive.
Is running different or is it the same for men and women?
It's the same, I would say. There's a lot of people and nuance with the menstrual cycle and stuff like that, and that you may want to take that into consideration. There's been research done that says that certain times of the month maybe women are more powerful, and like right at the beginning of their cycle, and that right before they're less powerful, so they may be losing some strength, and that can be taken into consideration when planning a workout. But as far as intensity and how many miles they can go and how fast they can go, in general, men may be a little faster than women, but as far as like the mileage they can complete and the training that they can do is the same.
Should women work out and run specifically during their menstrual cycle, or should they plan around that?
I think it depends on the person. I think that most people can run through it. I have done a lot of events on my cycle, and it's just something we have to plan into our day. Okay, so I just have to say, okay, this is happening, and just take that into account when I'm doing it. And there's some people that have, I don't have horrible side effects from it. There's some people that have like debilitating cramps that, it won't bring them, they have to be on the couch, but that's something that's very personal and that they have to work out for themselves. So if it's something that's bothering you, I say it's okay to push that workout off till the next day. So don't beat yourself up over missing a workout.
Yeah. If you take nothing from this podcast, that I would say is the most important part of it. What about younger and older people? Is there any difference with running then?
I also don't think so. No, I think that if you're coming into it at a later age, then it may be something that, hey, if you've got some underlying issues, arthritis or joint issues, that maybe you've had a knee replacement or something, that doesn't mean that you can't run. That just means that you have to be aware of it, just like we talked about with the woman with the menstrual cycle. Hey, this is something I have, so maybe just ramp up a little slower. But I know people in their 90s that are, running. So my toddler is also running around the track. So it's there's a big age range, and I think it's for everybody.
How can people, and maybe this is a broad question, how can people avoid getting injured while they're running?
First off, we talked about the shoes. I think having the right pair of shoes is important. And then also just being aware of how much you're ramping up into running to begin with. So maybe if you're very new to running, go out for, instead of setting your target on a distance, hey, I want to run 2 miles, set it on a time. Hey, maybe I'll go out for a 20-minute walk and jog and just do intervals. And that could be your first run, and maybe you only make it a mile, and that's okay. Maybe you don't. Maybe you make it half a mile, and that's also okay. It's just setting yourself up for time limits, and then the next time go out. And I would stay at that time goal for maybe a week. So if you're going for 3 runs this week, let's do 3 20-minute efforts and keep them all the same. And then the next week, maybe add 10 minutes to one of those runs. So also, if you've been running, like, you ran track in high school, but you haven't really run and you're, 25 now. Hey, it's been 7 years. Also, don't just jump back into running because you used to run. You want to also ramp up slowly. So maybe go out, since you've done running in the past, maybe start at a mile run or 2 miles, and then work your way up from there.
If someone wants to increase their speed of running, so you explained very well how to increase like your time of running, but if someone wants to run faster, how can they do that?
I think that the main thing that will help with speed is volume, and just increasing the amount that you're running, and it will naturally come. Once you get to a point where, hey, I've completed this distance, you can start incorporating speed workouts, and that's going to be beneficial for your overall speed. Say if you've maybe run a 5K and you say you ran, I don't know, 36 minutes or something on your 5K, which is amazing, but you want to PR, so that's, personal record. You want to go out there and beat that time. I would incorporate some speed sessions, so maybe some fartlek runs, which is just like a word for speed play. So you want to go hard for a minute or so, and then go easy for 1 to 2 minutes, and then back up again. You would do that a few times during your workout. Other than that, some tempo runs would help as well. So getting to that, and that's when we talked about zones, is so your tempo is also considered threshold, and that's a zone, and that's what you can hold for an hour. So you want to be at that pace for a section of your workout. So you would have like a nice 5 to 10 minute warm up, do your dynamic stuff, have another section that's like zone 2, and then you would ramp up to your threshold session. And that may be 20 minutes, and it could be a whole hour, but and that's also progressed as you get better at running and have been into it longer. You can progress further.
And how long should you do like the tempo runs or the runs where you run really, really hard for like a minute, then you take your break? Is that something you do for a couple days, for a week, or once a month? How often should you do those?
I would think it depends on where you are in your training cycle. I wouldn't necessarily do them every week. I would do a speed workout once a week, but it may not be a fartlek run. You may do the fartlek once every month or something like that, but maybe the next week you do a tempo run, or a fast finish is also another one, but it's just you take that tempo section and put it at the end, and you make it a little shorter. So there's lots of different avenues you can go and different speed that you can hit, but I would not do the same workout week after week after week.
Is that because your body adjusts to that?
Yes.
Okay. Is how you breathe important when you're running? And I'm asking because I watch a lot of sports. So I always see the athletes with the mask like on their face, and they're running on the treadmill really, really fast, and there's some kind of science behind that. So what is the science behind breathing and how you breathe when you're running?
Everybody breathes a little differently. A lot of us breathe only through our mouth. I think that if we utilize our nose, and I breathe in my nose and mouth, and breathe out probably the same. So, but like I said earlier, on those really easy runs, you can utilize just your nose, okay? But if you're using everything, you're getting more air in those lungs, and you're able to push harder because you're getting more oxygen. So I think really focusing on getting that deep breath and breathing it all out too. A lot of people will shorten their breaths if they're working really hard and start to hyperventilate, but we need to make sure we're getting a full breath of air and fully exhaling it all the way.
What is a stride?
So a stride is a really good warm-up tool that can be used in like track workouts would probably use it the most. I've also seen it on road just to get your muscles primed for the speed that you maybe want to hit in a workout. So a stride is about, I would say, anywhere to 50 to 100 meters at maybe 90 to 95% effort. So almost a full-out sprint, but not held for so long that it's like super taxing to the body that you're not able to get the workout in afterwards. I've also seen people do the strides after like an easy effort workout. They'll throw in a few strides at the end, and it's mainly just to feel that speed that they want to hit for a specific race that maybe coming up, or just to promote good running form.
What does running help build muscle?
No. No, I think that if you're trying to build muscle, that getting in some strength training is a good addition to running, and that will also help keep injuries away. So it's great preventative for injury, and getting that strength in and building more muscle is also going to make you faster. So that's another thing that I didn't hit on with getting faster. If you get stronger, you'll get faster as well. But running in itself is not going to necessarily build muscle.
What about if someone wants to lose weight? Does running help with that?
It can. I think that a lot of people get into running to lose weight. But I think most of your gains, if in a sense, because we're trying to lose, but most of that's going to be made in the kitchen. So what you're fueling your body with, a lot of us, start running and we're like, we're going to run to lose weight, but we're still eating everything inside, or not saying, I don't want to label foods as bad, because I think that's a bad mentality to go in, and it creates a bad relationship with food. But if you're at work and there's a king cake or a box of donuts, or that may not be the best fuel for your body, and if you're trying to lose weight, staying away from those things is going to make a bigger impact, I think, than running.
Calories. So this is a two-part question. Number one, explain to me, what are calories? And number two, is running the best exercise to burn calories?
Okay, a calorie is basically a unit of energy. So you get calories from your food. As we fuel our body, I ate breakfast this morning because I wanted to be fueled for this podcast. So, so that's my form of energy that I bring in. And so, so the second part of the question was, is running the best form? And no, I think that everything, depending on intensity, whatever you like and whatever you love is going to be that best form of burning calories for you. So, but you just have to bring the same intensity. So, weightlifting can burn calories, but you're not, those are, you're hitting a hard intensity and then you're recovering. Running, you're running for a sustained period. So over the time of an hour, you may burn more running because you've been running the entire time, if the intensity's high. But if the intensity's a little bit lower on that run and your lifting is a little higher, then you may burn the same amount in that whole hour. So I think it just depends on intensity. Also, person, everybody's metabolic efficiency and metabolic rate is different. So you're taking into a lot of background in science for, specifically how much am I burning during this workout? So.
You've been in the running space for years, education, experience. What is at this point in time in your life in the running space, what is your personal intention?
I just want to encourage people to get out there and try something that maybe they didn't think was possible for them. Hey, if they see somebody running and that looks fun, hey, go try it. There's nothing saying you can't do that too. You can. And I would say that mostly for everybody. If you can't run, you can walk. If you can't do that, there's other things out there that is healthy, and a good active lifestyle is just what I'm trying to promote.
Can running be fun, or is running fun?
I think it's fun. I think it's funner if you have a goal, or if you have friends that do it as well. So getting involved in the community and getting involved in a running club makes it funner for me. I get out once a week and meet up with a run club. I also listen to podcasts or music or something on my run, and that to me makes it fun. Also goals like, hey, I've got a race that is coming up. I want to run because I want to be really good at this race. I like to chase after a time or a goal, or hey, let's see if I can beat this person, or, friendly competition. So that, I think we're all driven by different things, but you can reach and grab and make it fun for you.
I just want to re-emphasize that Crystal said, if you're running, listen to a podcast. You can listen to this podcast while you're running, 60 Minutes With. So does running burn fat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the zone as well. So your zone 1, zone 2 is more fat burning than if you were like in zone 3 or higher. That's a lot of carbohydrates. So So fueling, I don't know if you have any questions on that, but that's important because, if you're going out for a hard effort, like those tempo or track sessions that I was talking about, or fartlek runs, you need to be fueling with something. So having something in your body before you go out, maybe an hour before, having a little snack with mainly simple carbohydrates is going to be ideal. I know fad diets, okay, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but a lot of them are low carb, and that's not going to increase your performance. So for those higher intensity workouts, and if you're trying to get faster, carbs is where it's at. So I just want to put that out there.
Now, we are no doctors here. We're giving educated examples based on experience. So what kind of carbs would you recommend for someone to eat like an hour before?
So simple carbs, I would recommend even just a piece of toast with maybe some peanut butter and, a banana or a piece of fruit. And that's all also super personal. Like sometimes fruit messes with people's stomach. For me, I'm good on a bagel, half a bagel, or even, I know long distance runners, we eat a lot of like Pop-Tarts or something like that. And so kind of going off on, you're not necessarily going to lose weight on that, but it is good run fuel. So I would recommend just simple sugary carbs, and like on your runs or even before, I've seen, and I guess even just gel packets are good. And if you're not used to these, they're about like 1 ounce, and they're the size of your palm. So, and they're just kind of a gelatinous texture, and it's straight sugar basically. So, but it gives you that fuel to get through your workout. So,
I have never heard of, like, you're talking about the gel packet here. This is 100 calories, but I have never heard of like having something like this, just straight sugar, and then running, like the two things are good together.
Yeah.
Normally they say, stay away from the sugar, stay away from the carbs and things like that. Or maybe I'm just thinking like the lose weight aspect of it.
Yeah, health aspect. If you're doing it for, it's not always the healthiest options that runners fuel with. So it depends on what your goals are. Are you trying to go out and lose weight? Or are you trying to perform? And those are two different things. And a lot of people don't see it as that. And I think that that's something that we kind of need to separate. So not saying you can't lose weight and also perform good, but you need to be fueling your body to perform good. And sometimes those don't go hand in hand. So,
what does running do for the heart and the lungs?
Well, I think in general, most of the time running can help with cardiovascular fitness, or just cardiovascular health in general. So the more you run, the more blood flow you're getting to your different organs, and the healthier they are. So as far as all the science behind it, I can't go there. That's not my scope of practice, but it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. What does running do for your knees? Because I've heard of like runner's knee, people, they run so much, they kind of wear out their knees, or there's pain there. What is the relationship between running and knees?
I think that that's just part of you hear that a lot, but I think a lot of people either going to running with a pre-existing injury or they go into running too fast. Also, not strength training with your running can cause that injury. So if you're not doing just some body weight stuff for maintenance on strength, you may get some knee pain. Also with shoes, there's a lot of things that can go into, hey, my knees hurt. So like when, if I get some knee pain, I think what causes my knee pain in my neighborhood, I run on a uneven surface. So my right knee is higher and it's also kind of leaning in a little bit on this one section of road, and on some of my longer runs, I start getting fatigued and I'm like, man, my knee's starting to bother me, and I'll move to the crown of the road so that I'm not on that slanted surface. So I think there's a lot of things to take into account, but I don't think that running is the thing that necessarily causes that injury.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
It may be that there's a correlation because, oh, my knee's starting to hurt because I've been running, but it's just that it's bringing up underlying stuff or, other things that, like not the right support in the shoes or the uneven surface, something like that.
What about hydration? What should you hydrate before you run, during your run, after you run? What do we do with that?
Yes, all of it. You should,
yes.
You should be hydrating all day. And I know it's hard in the winter. I like to just sip on coffee all day, and and coffee's not necessarily horrible. It will keep you up at night, so that's another thing to think about. But water, and not just water, but maybe water with some electrolytes mixed in is going to help your body hold on. The electrolytes will help your body hold on to that hydration. So instead of just like if you're drinking a gallon of water a day, you might be also peeing a gallon of water a day. So if you get something with some sodium and some other electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, that your body is able to absorb that and hold on to it and not just pee it all out. So I would say typically a rule of thumb for a normal day is half of your body weight in ounces. So if I'm 130 pounds, I'm looking at 65 ounces of water a day. So half a gallon about, and that's enough to keep you hydrated. Now, that's not including your run, and that's based on each individual person. And you may want to look into doing like a sweat test or something for that. So especially if you're running the summer, you lose a lot more fluid in the summer than you would in the winter time. So like going into summer, maybe you do an hour run and you have to take into consideration what you've taken in on the run and lost. So weigh yourself before the run and then go for a run and keep track of how much water you're drinking. I would expect you drink maybe a liter of water during an hour, and then you weigh yourself after your run, and then see how much weight you've lost, and then you would subtract however much you've taken in. So I think it's like a pound or two per liter, but I forget the exact. We can get that information like in your notes or something if we need to, but then you would subtract that, and that would be, okay, I'm sweated, this is my sweat rate, I've lost whatever, 2 pounds over an hour, and that's how much you would want to be taking in. And there's also a formula for that, so you can go in and say, okay, so I should be taking in a liter of water per hour, or a liter and a half. That's about the high end. So.
And what about the tools here? So we're hydrating. What about like water bottles? Does it matter what kind of water bottle you use, or can you just grab anything?
So comfort is really the most important thing, what you like, and I think that trial and error. I've gone through a lot of different types of bottles. You've got your typical like 20 ounce, this might be 16 ounce, but 20 to 16 ounce bottle water. This is just a cycling bottle, but I've used it it fits in my hand. It's a little cumbersome to hold, but you can, and especially like if you're running at a track, you can set it on the side and pick it up as you go by. Or like sometimes I run a mile around my house and I have this set on the back of my tailgate and I can just stop at my house and drink. I really like these collapsible bottles. And this is a 16-ounce bottle. It's wet because I just washed it. I use it a lot. There's a lot of wear and tear on here. But this is a Hydra Pack, and there's a lot of different brands out there. But they're collapsible, so as you drink them, they just kind of collapse down. And you can fit them in your pocket. I wear a running belt that I can put it in, and it just stuffs back in there, and it conforms to my hand. This one has a strap. Not all of them do, but there's lots of options that you can kind of cinch it down so that it's not bouncing, and you don't have, like I could let go of this when it's full and it wouldn't fall off my hand. But yeah.
I've never heard of a collapsible water bottle before. I'm looking like, wow.
So, yeah, it gets a lot of use, but yeah, I've got about 4 or 5 of them that I just rotate through.
Oh, wow. Okay. Soreness. So I feel like whatever exercise you're doing, you're going to get sore because you're stretching, you're using your muscles more. Should people continue to run even though they're sore?
Yes, and I think that's when you start to incorporate the easier workouts. So you're going to do your zone 1 or zone 2. Like if you've been running, say you've ramped up to running 5 times a week, and you've got 3 days that are back to back, maybe, or two days that are back to back, and you're just sore from some high mileage or just a hard workout the day before. Maybe the next run you do a easy or recovery effort. So and that may be just walking, that may be some easy jogging, and you could do it for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and just to kind of get the muscles moving. The worst part when you're sore is sitting still. The best thing for it is just to get some blood flow through there. So even the recovery tools like the foam roller, the massage stick, just getting in there and getting that blood flow. So running is actually a great tool for helping with the soreness.
How can someone motivate themselves to start running or continue to run? Because I feel like a lot of it, though physical, a lot of it is also mental.
Yeah, well, you can do it. So that's the main thing is if you want to run, then you'll make it happen. And you can. You just got to start slow. The best thing I think is finding a group of friends that do it. There's whatever got you into running in the first place. Like, I don't know whether you heard of somebody that did a marathon or somebody that did their first 5K and you're like, oh, I really want to do that. Well, signing up for a 5K might be the motivation you need. So online, there's a lot of tools that you can search and say, local 5K, where's the next 5K at that's near me? And the minute you hit that sign up button is a big motivation to get out the door and start running.
And sometimes you have to pay for that. So that's an added motivation to that because you don't want to waste your money. So how long is a 5K? How long is a 10K? Because I hear those words and those terms thrown around so much.
The 5K is 3.1 miles, and then the 10K is 6.2. So for every 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles. So if you want to convert, you can. That's the conversion. So, but yeah, a lot of people start with the 5K. That's a attainable distance. You can walk that in the amount of time it takes for a lot of the like cutoff times. So, a lot of times there's a 5K and a 10K together that's got a couple hour cutoff time. You can walk the 5K, and most people can walk a 5K in an hour. So that's something super attainable, and even if you just walked it and then you came back the next time and wanted to run part of it and try to do better, it's super, it's in reach. Most people, if they set that as their goal, that's something that they can do.
If someone does have that as their goal, wanting to run a 5K or even a 10K, what would you suggest is like the first thing they need to do or something they need to continuously do to train for that?
Just getting out the door. I think being consistent and keep showing up, and that's the main thing, is just you're not going to always have a great run. Do you regret runs? I don't think I've ever regretted a run, though. So even if it wasn't a good run, I still got something from it. So just getting out the door and putting one foot in front of the other. I think having a plan is a good place to go, because I know if I have something on my calendar, I'm going to be more like, okay, I got to get it done. So I think that's part of my consistency. If you're consistent with planning and saying, okay, I want to run 3 times a week, putting them on your calendar and saying, hey, these are the times I'm going to do it, is helpful to get out the door.
So you really need to make it a priority. Now, if people are running a 5K or a 10K, we have established that you are an actual running coach. Also, would you consider yourself a triathlon coach as well?
Yes, I have my triathlon certification. I'm working towards my endurance certification now.
Towards the end of this podcast, I will let you know, and Crystal will also let you know how you can get in touch with her if you're looking for a running coach, if you're looking for a triathlete coach. She is available, and we'll give you that information in a little bit. What does running do for someone emotionally?
Okay, I feel like this one hits me at home because, I have a toddler. They may not know this, but they do now. So I have he's almost 3, and he's an angel most times, but I'm new to this, and this is at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I just need some me time. So it helps you. I think that it just gives you your space. You can think. I always come back from a run feeling like, even if I wasn't hitting the certain paces that I wanted, I still feel good that I got activity in. And then, you get them endorphins flowing, and it's a good feeling. They call it the runner's high, and it's, whether you're, like I said, had a stressful day at work, or you're just, even if you're tired, I feel like it just invigorates you and helps you feel just better in general.
What about intellectually? Does running do anything for you intellectually?
I think that it can help get that blood flowing, brain-wise, and getting that there. But I also feel like if you had a really hard run and you're not recovering, that it could not help you intellectually. So, but yeah, I think getting that blood flowing to the brain, just blood flow in general is going to be good for you intellectually.
I know this next question is very objective, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What does someone need to do to consider themselves a runner? Is there you've run 10 miles, now you're a runner, or you just started and you're a runner?
Yeah, you just start and you're a runner. I mean, if you run one step, you're a runner. If you're going to look at those running shoes and you haven't run one step, I would call you a runner. So just the mentality, I think, and just, hey, if you've got a goal and a want and a will to be a runner, then you are.
Is there a time or an age that people should stop running? Now, I know you said people that are still running at 90 years old, which is amazing to me. But is there a time or an age that people should stop running?
I think, again, that's all depends. It just depends on your health in general, and I would hope that I would go out, and I'm running until I die. But some people have things that prevent them from running, so they may choose another route. But I think that's all based on your health and your joint fitness. Are you good there? Does it hurt to run? I mean, if it's hurting, then you should probably stop. And now I'm not saying, my muscles are sore, that hurts. I'm saying, hey, my joint, something's not right. And that, your body, and just, I think listening to your body is super important, because you know it better than anyone else. And so if you have a point where, hey, this is not doing me any good, this is actually hurting me, then you should stop. But I don't think that is necessarily on age either.
Okay. Is there a specific plan for someone that's never run but wants to run? Maybe they're listening to this podcast and you have encouraged them to want to start running, can you give them like a run plan for maybe the first week? You know, how long or how far should they run on the Monday, like if they do 3 times, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, what would that plan look like?
Like we kind of touched on earlier, I would start with just maybe going out for 20 minutes and doing a run walk. So maybe you're running for 30 seconds and walking for a minute. And your run doesn't have to be a sprint. You know, just kind of, it doesn't have to be much faster than your walk. But start slow. And I would say do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the first week. And kind of just stay at those paces. And you may, once you get comfortable with that, you can increase your run time. So a lot of people, they run walk and that's what they do. And that's okay. I have people that I coach that run walk marathons and they do well and they've PR'd their marathon on a run walk. So, but that's just what your goals are. So if you want to run the whole thing, great. If it works better for you to run walk, then that's awesome. But going further with your running, if you want to progress, I would say the next thing, if you're doing 30-second run, then bump it up to 45-second run and then keep your walk at that minute. And then eventually you're running a minute and walking a minute. And then you may just keep that minute in there and increase your run time. And then eventually you decrease that walk time. So once you're like at 2 minutes running, 1 minute walk, maybe you start to decrease your run time or your rest time a little bit or your walk time. So you start taking 15 seconds off of that. And then eventually you're running for 10 minutes straight. So I think the best starting point is just to get out there and go slow. And like I said, just start with that run walk. And then I think once you start progressing, I think it's really good to get a plan. So if reach out to me or you can look online. There's plenty of online, like 12-week plans for 5K or something like that. I know Couch to 5K is the most like well-known plan for beginner runners. There's a lot of other stuff out there, but also feel free to reach out and I can get you, either I can write you a plan or I can send you in the direction to find one that's right for you.
If someone wants to reach out to you to help them start running, continue running a 5K, 10K, how do they do that? How do they connect with you?
I'm most active on Instagram, and that's coach.crystalmoore. That's my handle. And then on Facebook, I'm also on Facebook. It's just Crystal Moore. And that's it. So I also have an email, but I don't, that one's not as active right now. So, but just stick to those two. Yeah, either Crystal Moore on Facebook or coach.crystalmoore on Instagram.
And you also brought something, because we were talking off camera before we started, that if someone is running like at night, you have like a light or something that they can put on.
So visibility is super important. This is just a handheld light, or you can clip it on the brim of your hat. Like it has a little clip and it's toggle, so you can actually see in front of you, and it's just got a white light.
Okay.
And that's for your purposes to see the sidewalk in front of you. But I think the most important thing is going to be just having something so other people can see you. So I've seen things where that just will clip onto your pants or your shirt, and they're just little blinky lights, and those are great too, but I couldn't find one around my house. But this is a really cool vest light, and it's got a little belt strap around it that has a reflector, and then it also has these wires that go over your shoulder, and this is the back portion. But you just click the button here, and it glows, and it blinks, and it's super...
And it blinks every color.
It's really annoying to any driver, and they see it, but it's super easy to put on, and you don't feel it. Like, It doesn't bounce around a lot. So I've run, I don't know, a lot of miles at mine, but...
And you just clip it on to the front.
Yeah, and then you can cinch these down, these little toggles, cinch down, and it makes it tighter or looser, and it doesn't bounce. I mean, it's not super heavy, so I really like this, and it's called Knox Gear. They sell them on Amazon, or I think they also have their own website. Hold that, it turns off. But this one just takes batteries. There are other options that do a USB charger as well. I think they also make some for the dog. My dog has his little harness too, so. But yeah.
Well, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast, and you have been amazing, Crystal. I mean, with a name like Crystal, you can't help it. What would be your single advice for someone that wants to get out and run?
Just start. Just jump in.
Just do it like Nike says?
Yeah. Find you a supportive community, I think, is the best thing. And most around this area, there's a lot of run groups that are on Facebook. And then, I mean, if you're other places, this isn't the biggest area for running, but we do have run clubs here. So if you're from a different area, there's tons of runners. Like Houston has so many run clubs. So, but locally, Golden Triangle Strutters is a big one. We've got our Mid-County Run Club that I host the track workouts weekly. Searoom Striders is also a big group around here that hosts running events through the summer. So that'll be good for a summer run series. They do like 5Ks every week. Mm-hmm. So it's great for beginners.
Excellent. And my final question for you, Crystal, is who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast, but you have to help me get them on?
I've been thinking about this one for a while. So my friend Misty Melanson, she's a dietitian, and she works with, I believe it's Davita, and it's a dialysis center. So, and I've talked to her, and she's agreed to, for you to reach out. So we've already done the background work on that.
Thank you. You've already done the hard part.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's excited about hearing from you. So.
Thank you so much for getting on here and talking about running, because as I told you, I ran track, my entire life, like growing up. But the science behind it, the shoes, when you should run was never taught. It was just, at that time I was very fast. So it was just, get on the track and run as fast as you can. But all of the other stuff that you have so eloquently explained to us was never taught. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad I could be helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you so much for tuning in, listening, and watching this podcast. You can get this podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry. Console.